Just a brief experiment, just testing that I can just reverse the camera on this without it having too disastrous an effect. Okay, the company's called the Just About Ready Company, and I wonder what I'll wonder next. And down at the bottom here, we have my jolly old website of my own, which is my acting career up until the year 2007. Now I'm going to attempt to push the little camera on here and see what the recording comes out like. Well, it looks as if it's still recording. So I managed to turn that. That's the first time ever in my life I have done that. By the way, I bought myself 2 decent cameras and I've got myself an auto cue piece of equipment, but I haven't got a clue yet how to transfer the data, the videos from there to a website or to my laptop or even to the mobile phone in order to send off to you. So I've done this in the crudest of possible ways. And I'll keep on running with this. The reason I've had to speed up everything is because quite soon I have to have a laryngoscopy, the result of which could be disastrous or it all could be relatively fine. However, I'm urgently anxious to get my project off the ground, or at least get you thinking about it. There are a few people I've approached already, but I'll be sending this video to them. And please, if you want to know further, so that I've got you fully on record, I'd need you to send me an email. The address I'll mention at the end of this video, an email with your telephone number on, so I've got it on record, and then we can indulge in WhatsApp calls and video calls and all the rest of it. But even though I've got your number, obviously I wouldn't be sending this to you if I didn't. I'd still like it on one of my emails. We would create an email address for the company, Just About Ready Company. Right, what's the project all about? Well, I'm thinking it to be very exciting, and please listen to it all through before you make any judgments or want to get in touch with me immediately and say, Mike, it's not going to work, or whatever it is. Okay, so you have this website. You go to it, and aside from a list of self-help books on every branch of mental health, from alcoholism to OCD. You notice I include alcoholism and I include OCD because people with either of those conditions are as much in help as the person who is in deep stuck with schizophrenia, if you like. We all need help. Fundamentally, some of us need more help than others, and some situations are more life and death than others. I certainly believe that alcoholism is one of those such conditions. Okay, so you go to this website and you'll notice a list of people. There won't be a name on there, and there'll only be an area, like Welsh doctor, 47, bulimic, anorexic, OCD, nurse, psychiatric nurse, female, alcoholic, bipolar, 28-year-old male, Welsh athlete, bipolar, ADHD, OCD, alcoholic, and addict. A whole spectrum of people, from your dustbin collector through to teachers and people in the British Medical Association, and hopefully some mental health workers as well. I would like to be able to interview mental health workers, like clinical psychologists, for instance. I'd like to be able to interview them regardless of whether they've got an addiction or not. Some of them will have and some of them won't. but their points of view will differ probably quite considerably at the end of the day, which will make for fascinating listening or watching. So you press on the button of who you've selected, and you watch a 10-minute video that is usually about their lifestyle, what they got up to, their jobs of work, what happened to bring them to a conclusion that they needed to seek help for their mental health issue. Then, and this is what I think is the clever bit, is, even if I say so myself, they email the group, the Just About Ready group, Just About Ready company rather, I must get used to that. Perhaps I should call it group, I don't know. They email us with their telephone number. A member of the team rings them, finds out exactly what branch of mental health issue they're having to deal with, or where their curiosity lies. We then work out whether or not they should see the second half of the interview. The second half of the interview is where the interviewee has felt free to share their method of getting well, or the self-help books they use, or the places they go to for help, the therapy they've had, even down to the meds they might use. Because I find between people, it's always interesting to know what medics have prescribed. So that then gets to the nitty-gritty of the whole website. I haven't thought much beyond that point, except that I see it going in all kinds of directions. That different groups will emerge, like Just About Ready to look at my bipolar, and there'll be a group formed there. And the rest of this issue I need to discuss in my next video, because it is more exposing of where my passion for this whole project actually comes from. I'll mention one thing at this point that a lot of you might, disagree with. But one thing I've noticed lately, and this is as a teacher, and I did do some teaching not so very long ago in Swansea, so I have noticed the change in classrooms and attitudes. During lockdown, there was what I would call a booze bomb went off. Now this booze bomb meant there was an increase in sales of alcohol, catch for this, by 10%. That extra 10% booze was not being consumed in pubs and clubs, or in safe places, if you like. It was being consumed in the privacy of their own homes, usually in front of teenagers or very young children, young adults, grandparents, in the so-called safety of their own home. Now, the people that are consuming this alcohol, worst case scenarios, are probably starting to drink midday and drinking right through till midnight. Their children's minds are being totally and utterly scrambled. Their psyches are all over the place. And then, bless their hearts, then we drop the lockdown and they go back to school. And they're in the presence of their classmates. I would say about 30% of that class will have experienced such dramatic behaviour at home. But the influence of that 30% on the whole class now makes it impossible for some teachers to get any kind of teaching done. Now please come back at me on this one, because I'm intrigued by it totally. So if you are a teacher watching this, please get back to me and let me know if you've noticed that. And that schools these days almost demand to have some kind of psychotherapy put into the schools to help some of these children. That then is going to develop throughout communities. We are getting angrier. We are getting more polarized. We are being encouraged to hate each other. All kinds of issues, which I was rather hoping with a website like this, people can start watching stuff like this and becoming aware, because there's very little we can do. I wouldn't dare go into a school, as I did try it many, many years ago, in 2 or 3 schools, in fact, because I used to do a one-man show. I used to speak to the audience afterwards about alcoholism and drug addiction. But you get terrible problems come from that, because the child or the listener goes home and says, "Oh, Dad, this teacher at school today said you're an alcoholic." Well, it creates all kinds of hell. What it's all about at this point in time, I believe, is spreading awareness that this is what's been going on. At the moment, it is totally and utterly avoided. I've never heard it mentioned once that there's chaos in our schools, partly as the result of lockdown and the amount of alcohol and inappropriate drugs that were being taken during that period of time. There we go, I got that off my chest, and I don't know whether it came across coherently or not, and I will have messed it up here and there, but please get back to me on it. Another issue that's close to my heart is, when I was drinking for 25 years, I must have contributed at least £200,000 to the government in their taxes on the booze. 200 grand. When I collapsed of alcoholism and my whole family fell, we lost our detached house overlooking London. We split up, and that was it. Almost penniless, virtually overnight, with no property. Now that's my wife and my children. Nobody came to our assistance. Nobody came to our help. If you'd had an accident in the street, if you had a mental health issue that wasn't alcoholism, you stood a chance of being helped, though in my experience that wasn't the case. Certainly not financially. I'll talk a lot more in depth about that if you're interested in my next video. I don't want to put you off. I don't want it to be that serious, you know. Mary had a little lamb. She also had a duck. She put them on the mantelpiece to see if they'd fall off. Yeah, well, here's another determination not to swear. There was a young lady from Bude who stood on the stage in the nude. A man in the front said, "Go look at that," out loud. How rude. Okay, so please contact me at mikejh121@gmail.com. mikejh121@gmail.com. And please don't forget to include your telephone number. Thanks for listening to me so far, I hope, and please rack your brains. I need people to help build a website. I need people to explain all this technology to me. I need people who are able to go out and interview occasionally. All kinds of help we need for this project to work. It could end up massive. It could become huge, and it could be of incredible benefit to an awful lot of people, I believe. Thanks for listening. I'm going to try and switch this off now. Do you know what? I've even got a remote control for this bloody film. I just swore. Ah. Oh dear.